there are, as we speak, as we do this on August 19th, 2021, 8 drivers who do not have contracts next year. Okay. We'll go through this quickly. What are the odds of each driver? Give a percentage of each driver returning to their team for next season. I'll go through the drivers here. Okay. Valtteri Bottas.
30%.
I give him a 45%.
I'll say 50%.
I think it's closer than people think. Obviously, I think the odds kind of really aren't in his favor right now. But I think it's behind the scenes, it's a lot closer because the dynamic just works so well for the whole team and Lewis. But yeah, I'd give him 45.
Okay.
I'd say 50 just because I think it's either George or Bottas. Like it's either Russell or Bottas.
Oh, yeah.
And part of me feels like if they were going to announce the Russell move, they would have done it.
I don't know.
That's kind of, yeah.
But they wouldn't want to ruin, like, because if Bottas knows he's not going to have a seat like next year in Mercedes, I feel like they're trying to just like push it as much as they can so he doesn't like become unmotivated to like do well and like cause more problems. Because now he's going to try and want to show off to like whatever other team that he, is trying to get signed to, and then that might create problems with Lewis, and then ruin the whole constructors.
Okay, fair enough.
Good point.
Sergio Perez, Red Bull.
65, I'd say.
That was exactly my number. I say 65.
I'll say 75%.
Okay.
I think the odds are pretty good that he stays. I think there's a lot of talk that he'll move, and like someone like young and upcoming is gonna, join Red Bull and steal his seat. But
Pierre Gasly.
Mm-hmm. Unless he becomes the reason where Red Bull can't win the drivers' championship, the constructors' championship, then I think he can stay.
Yeah, I think as long as he's like contributing and like knows that like he's realistically the second driver and like he's there just to like be that second driver so they can pull off more strategies. I think if he like continues to improve, I don't see a problem with him returning back at all.
I said this earlier. You'd be stupid if you're Christian Horner. You'd be stupid not to let Perez come back. I just think you'd be making a really big mistake. You're putting yourself in danger when you don't need to. Pierre Gasly and Yuki Tsunoda, both AlphaTauri drivers, do not have a contract for next season. Odds on them returning.
Pierre is a tricky one because
yeah.
If he doesn't get that Rebel seat back, I don't know if he wants to stay in the Rebel program.
I'm going to say 60%.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah, I think this year he'd probably sign one more like 1-year contract. So I'd say the same percent, but I think if after that, I think it would significantly decrease. I think he would begin looking elsewhere if he didn't see like a potential seat at Red Bull.
I do think it's kind of a bet on yourself because we're going to have the new cars come in next year. I think if he can put up these same sort of results in the new car next year, while, teams start having a bit more money, generating a bit more revenue, then he could say, listen, I did this well in the new car. Pay me.
Well,
give me a spot.
I also think that it's a possibility that Perez, might, I don't really know a situation, but like he might, he's been around for a while. Like he might not continue racing that much longer. And so he might just hold out until Perez is kind of done racing. Cause he's one of like the oldest drivers on the grid, I think, or like, at least like
he's been racing for like the last 10 plus years.
Yeah. Like he's been there a long time. So, obviously he's doing really well now, but like, he might choose to like end his career like a bit earlier, kind of like a Rosberg thing, maybe.
And Yuki 35% with Alpine,
like 35, 45 around.
Yeah,
there.
even like a 40-ish%. I don't I don't really see it.
He'd have to put up some actual points and results in the second half if he wants to keep that seat.
Yeah, I think he's got to like impress, because Red Bull moves drivers in and out really fast. And I think just with like how involved the actual like head Red Bull team is like involved with AlphaTauri, I think they're just gonna kick him out if he can't do anything. Like
Plus, if they keep Gasly, I can't imagine they'd keep Tsunoda as well.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I think one of them will go.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Gasly's the better bet to stay. I think we can all agree on that.
Long term, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Both the Alfa Romeo drivers that have contracts for the next season, or do not have contracts for next season. I need to figure out what I'm talking about. Alfa Romeo, no drivers under contract for 2022. Kimi stays.
It's such a tricky spot.
Because yeah,
I think Giovinazzi has to go.
I think
do you
but I don't think he's actually gonna go.
What's the upside for him though?
Well, like Justin said, he's going to get a spot with Ferrari.
Shut up! I don't know. I feel like Ferrari's just
if it goes to someone, wouldn't it go to Mick at some point instead of Giovinazzi?
Oh, I think. Totally. I think Mick would absolutely jump the line over Giovinazzi. It's just
where's Giovinazzi's future here?
Probably
him ending up at Haas, to be honest.
No, he could probably race for like Alpine or somebody like that. Like that's where I think
Fernando retires.
Yeah, like I think that's where like
it's a good point.
He's not. Listen, he's same thing with Lance Stroll. He's not a top 10 driver in Formula One. I don't think he ever will be. So you're going to be driving for a middling team for the most part, and you're not going to be good. You're not going to be great, but you're just going to be fine, and you're going to be, probably finishing middle of the pack for most of your career. Like that's what I think he is. And I don't know if you're Alfa Romeo, what your move is. So why not just at least bring Gio back? At least Gio's like the young guy.
Yeah, a little more potential.
A little bit more potential. Because Kimi, no offense to Kimi, everybody likes him. He's really cool. At some point, you have to rip the Band-Aid off there and let him go.
Yeah,
he doesn't have the pace anymore.
Yeah, he's there. I think he's personally there just for like the publicity. Like he's got a huge fan base and brings a lot of fans and attention, like I said before. But that's really it. I don't think as an actual driver, if you were to take all those other if you were to take the fame away, I don't think he's actually that great of a driver anymore. He's really lost it.
I was confused when they brought him in because it's not like they're sticking him next to a young guy like Tsunoda or something like that to like give him that experience.
Yeah.
It's almost like they brought him in for the name and the results, but they're really getting neither. So it doesn't really make any sense.
So I guess for myself, Gio, I think there's a 50% chance he comes back. And then Kimi, it's 40%. I think there's also just a good chance that they just run it back next year. And they're just like, weird year, 2021, 2020, weird years. We'll do it.
I was going to go 60-40.
Okay. For 60 for Gio?
For Gio 60, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like they'd want like a super young team that's like a bit more exciting. They'd probably do like a Gio Mick combo if it goes through. I could see that happening.
Because you got to also remember, does Kimi want to spend this time at his age learning that whole new car too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see him retiring at the end of this year.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I kind of agree with that. That makes sense. Williams drivers. Williams does not have any drivers under contract for 2022. Odds that George Russell comes back to Williams.
I give him. I feel like I should answer first.
You answer first.
I give George like a 49% chance that he stays.
Okay.
I think like I really want to move, but it's like so on the fence just because of like what I said about Valtteri before as well. Like it just works so well with Mercedes, and that's really what he wants. Like, he really doesn't want any team. He's just making threats that like he'll go somewhere else. Realistically, he doesn't want to go anywhere else. He's like he's like the image of Mercedes. So Yeah, that's what I think.
I was just giving George a 30 because it's the same as I gave Bottas, because the only place he's going is if he leaves. So
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll say 50% because I said 50% that Bottas stays with Mercedes. Personally, I think it'd be really cool. I think that'd be probably the biggest storyline next year if Russell goes to Mercedes, is having
huge.
the arguably the greatest driver of all time against someone who people really like and seem to think can be another talented driver. Nicholas Latifi back next year. I'm kind of leaning towards like him returning. Like I think I'm close to like the 45%, 50%.
I think if George was to leave, then they'd keep one driver that's already been on the team and bring on a second driver from I don't know where else, maybe Valtteri, or maybe it's someone from Formula 2. But yeah, I think the odds are actually pretty good, dependent on if George stays.
Okay.
because if George leaves and they try to bring in another, like I don't think they can afford to bring in two younger guys because I think they rely on the paid driver.
Yeah,
That's why I have Latifi going back, is because they're going to keep the pay driver next, even though they got new investors and they have new funding.
Mhm.
They're probably just going to keep the pay driver for at least another year as we get out of the pandemic.